there, fabulous people. Jen here with another Finding Purpose Fridays. And firstly, I must apologise to everyone who's following along that there was no video last week. I cannot put up like just a notification on YouTube. So yeah, basically just after I finished up my interview with Jonathan last Friday, just lots happened and life got in the way. So my apologies, but we are back today on what is Friday here in Australia anyway. So last week we talked about making a long list of everything that you could think of in your lifetime that has brought you joy, okay? And I talked way back to like early childhood days. Something that came up that I just thought I would say as well, if for you think about childhood and there are no good memories that come to mind, or it's too hard to even go there, don't get all caught up in that. To start with, you don't even have to go there. You can just work on, from like later years in life, okay? The other way you can do it is think about, if I was a child for a day, what are the fun, joyful things I would want to be doing, okay? So just for anyone who doesn't want to go there, who doesn't want to think about it, and look, I didn't have a traumatic childhood, and even though I have certain memories I can think about from childhood, when I look at my childhood overall, I'm not someone who would say it was this great and wonderful childhood, basically. So yours may not have been great, but you can still pick out those kind of joyful, happy things that you did. Or if it's too hard, either leave it or use that prompt of, what kind of things would I do that were joyful and fun if I could be a child for a day. So that's another way to kind of get around that, if that was a stumbling block for anybody. Okay, so we've made up our list. Now, obviously to show it here, I cannot go through the gazillion things that's on my list. So I just picked a few that I could kind of write out. I wasn't going to do any fancy typing and all of that sort of stuff. So these are just like a few things I wrote out. My list is a lot longer than this, and yours probably is too, okay? But I need to get through this in some kind of timely manner, and not go through my entire list. The very first thing you want to do is go through your list and have a look. So let's just talk about what's on my list. So the ones that I noted down here for the purpose of the video was making fairy gardens, speaking in church, writing poetry, YouTube videos, gliding/chatting with friends, helping people, long chats with my daughter, learning new things, chatting with my hubby, doing crafts, skipping, tarot readings, watching son play basketball. So I just put in a few examples here that are both a few from childhood and, up until present day. So the first thing you want to do is go down your list and you want to cross out anything that is ego based. Okay, so what I mean by this, hang on, I need to turn off my heater. Sorry about that. Is anything that, even though you may have loved it, it was about either getting praise from it, or about how you appeared to other people because of it. So when I look at my speaking in church, so I talked last week that for me, speaking in church, I really enjoyed that in my primary school years because it was kind of that honor of being selected to do it. It meant that you were a good, confident speaker And it meant that either both my mum and grandma, or if my mum was working, at least my grandma would be there to see me. And I loved that part of it as well. But when I kind of really dive into that, I don't know that there was anything about the speaking in church for me and being up on that pulpit and doing the reading that was about having a genuine internal like joy and passion just for the sake of my doing it. It was very much the joy from it, and why I loved it was A, it meant I was good enough to be chosen, and B, it meant that my grandma and or my mum were going to be there to watch me speak and be proud of me. Okay, so that for me is something that is an ego-based kind of a thing. Now, it doesn't take away that I loved that my grandma was there or anything like that. It's still something that is really special to me. But as far as being something of joy, and something that I love just for the sake of doing it, I'm really not sure if that's what it was about. So for me, you know, I would come in and I will just cross off like speaking in church. Okay. Now, YouTube videos. So making YouTube videos. There's, you know, I guess definitely an element that can come into making YouTube videos that has an ego base to it. It's that wanting people to like you enough to connect with you. It's that, you know, I guess wanting to know that you're putting things out there that are of interest to other people. And there is an ego-based aspect of that, okay? For me, the other side of that is there is a part to making these videos that I finish up and I hit the stop button, and knowing I'm going to upload it, knowing that hopefully there's something in there that someone will either find helpful or useful or will bring joy to them. There's that part of it as well, and that is a genuine aspect to it. So I'm not going to cross that one off, even though there might be that kind of crossover of the two with the ego kind of stuff. Now, one of the things I talked about last week that I liked doing was also like public speaking in high school and doing public speaking competitions and things like that. If I had have written that on my list, like just my example list here, I would cross that off as well. Because it's that same kind of thing. I liked that I was good enough to partake in the competitions. I won it the first year in year 8 when I did it against a girl that everybody thought would smash it out of the park and win. And although I'm proud of myself that I got up and do it and I did it and I had the confidence to do it, that as well was very much ego-based, because it boosted that part of me that said, you know, that okay, I just got kicked off because apparently my storage is taken up on my phone. So what I was saying was that doing that public speaking in high school, that inner voice that says you're not good enough, while I was doing that, it was taking that, it was kind of pushing that inner voice out. So it was boosting the ego. So if I put that on my example list here, that's something else I would cross off as well. So that's kind of the starting point, is to go through, and you may have nothing on your list that's ego-based. You may have things that are kind of half ego-based, half not. You may have to really sit with some of the things to work out whether they were genuinely joyful for the sake of just your love of it, or if it was really about what you got for that. you know. Oftentimes things with any kind of hobby we do where there's competition involved, and then we have other adults, whether it's, you know, parents or teachers or coaches, that kind of thing, telling us, you're so good, you've got this. It may have started out as being something that was joyful, but turned out to be something that was purely ego-based, because maybe you didn't enjoy it anymore. You did it so that these people would be proud of you, or you'd get the praise, or all that sort of stuff. So you may have to think with it a little. Now, the next part of this is you want to go through everything else, and it could take a while depending on how long your list is, and you kind of want to start categorizing these things, okay? So what I mean by that, so top of my list, I put making fairy gardens. So what was it about that? Okay, it was probably about, so it would have been about being creative, and you may not see all of this written, and imagination. Okay, so, you know, I've just written here creative and imagination. That's kind of what the making fairy gardens part was about, right? Going down to writing poetry. So again, this is one for me that it could come under a few different categories. So it could come under, it was just fun. It can come under being creative. It was also a great emotional outlet for me to write poetry. So you kind of want to think on ones like this and go, what's most prominent about it? And write it all down, okay? So I'm going to quickly do that now. So poetry was creative, it was just fun, and it was about being an emotional outlet. Okay. I kind of already talked about the YouTube video side of it, okay? Gliding and chatting with friends. So what's that about? Well, pretty much it's about the social aspect, okay? So I'm just going to write social. My next one down is about the helping people part. Now, again, there can be elements to that we can look at as being ego-based. But that for me, when you see somebody take the tools and improve their life for the better, it's so hard to put into words. It's about just, I guess, achievement and pride in another person, being so proud of the other person. And if I was sitting here saying that person improved because of me, because I was the best, then I'm totally doing that from an ego-based perspective. But I've never said that. I provide the tools. I provide different explanations. I provide different ways of going about things. They have to do the work. They have to take it on board, and they have to do the hard work. It is all about what that person sitting in front of me goes and does. So to sum it up in a word, I think it's really, what I'm going to write for this one is just pure happiness, because that's what it leaves me with. It leaves me with this sense of just a deep, beautiful, pure and genuine happiness when I see that play out. So that's what I'm going to put beside this. So pure happiness. Okay, long chats with my daughter. Okay, and at the same time, let's go with chatting with my hubby as well. So there's elements to that is about being social. Okay, and that reminds me of something else I'm going to add to my chatting, like either gliding or chatting face to face with friends. The other part of that is about connection. Okay, so the connection, and I think that's probably a more appropriate word than social. Okay, we all do need to have, social engagement with other people. That's kind of how we are as humans. Even if we're quite hermited and introverted people, there's an element where we still need that to kind of have a fulfilled life. Doesn't have to be massive. You don't have to be a big socialite to do that. So for me, this chatting with hubby, having deep conversations with my daughter, it's about connection, and it's just also about genuine love, that real love. So I'm going to add back up here with gliding and chatting with friends, connection. And beside chatting with my daughter, I'm going to write connection and love. And I'm going to write the same beside chatting with hubby. So connection and love. Okay, and we're going to skip down a few because if not, we could be here forever. So I'm going to go to watching son play basketball. Okay, what's that about for me? Well, for some parents, and this again would be part of the questioning, watching their child do good at a sport, or like a niece or a nephew or, a friend's child, can be about pride. And it can be about, ooh, look how good my child is. I know people in my life like that. It is definitely not about that for me, because, I think I spoke in the last video about how I hate all the political bullshit that goes on at kids' sports from the adults, more than anything. It's about, again, it's about that connection to my son by partaking in, like, watching him do something that he loves doing, being there for him as he does that. So it's about that motherly kind of love again, okay? And so it does bring me joy. It does bring me the connection to him. It does bring me the love, okay? So I'm going to write all those down. So connection, joy, love. So let's talk about doing crafts we've got here, and then I've got skipping. So for doing crafts, again, that's about being creative. And for skipping, like if I think back to when I skipped as a young girl, I'd probably fall over and break my neck again. Not that I broke my neck skipping, but if I tried to do it as an adult. But it was just about fun. It was nothing else but just fun and joy. Okay, so besides doing crafts, that was, about being creative. Besides skipping, it was about fun. Now, tarot readings. So I've put this in here because, lots of us are tarot readers. So this one for me can be categorized in a few different ways. Also, helping people, I should mention, in and of itself, okay, is kind of a category. All right, so it's kind of that giving of self. So I'm going to put that there. Tarot readings fall into many categories for me. There are times when I do it just for the pure joy of it, because I just want to play with my cards and I want to enjoy it. there are times when I do it because I want to have deeper emotional insight. So kind of like with the writing poetry, as a child, the tarot readings have that emotional component to them. Yeah, I'm going to write this as I go so I don't forget. So, you know, they have the emotional, they have the fun and the joy. But doing tarot readings also does fall into that category of helping people. I know you guys aren't going to be able to see all this like properly. There is an aspect to it where if you're doing a reading for somebody else, and when I read for other people, it is very much about that therapeutic side, the what can you do to benefit the situation, not just that this is going to happen. It's about what you can do to help yourself, basically. So, you know, there is that helping people aspect. And then, you know, under that, the giving of self. So it's going to pop that there too. What other ones did I miss? Okay, learning new things. It's probably the only one I haven't talked about. Learning new things. Where does this fall for me? And again, it's very broad, the learning new things, when I put this down as bringing me joy. Because it stimulates my intellectual side. Okay, so I'm just going to write intellectual there. Okay, because that's something that is important to me. Okay. Learning new things, and depending on what it is, can come under so many different categories as well. It can just be fun. Okay. It's like if you are learning how to skip for the first time, it could just be because you want the fun and the joy of doing it. Okay. So it can be just about pure fun and joy. It can be about creativity, and learning new things can fall into multiple different categories. So what I want you to do is kind of like what we've done here, where we've just taken from our list. Remember, this is just a small snippet from mine. The real one is a lot longer, and yours probably is too. Is just going through and beside each one kind of categorizing why it brings you joy. So we can see making fairy gardens is about creativity and imagination. We crossed it off that ego-based one of speaking in church. Writing poetry was about being creative. It was about fun, but it was also about an emotional outlet. Okay. YouTube videos, I didn't write beside that, but as I said, that comes under as well of a few different things. Connection, helping other people with certain things that, you know, like trying to do this so that I can give people different strategies to help themselves if they want to take it on board. What else have we got there? I'm trying to read backwards. You know, so gliding and chatting with friends is about the social aspect and the connection. And you just keep going down your list and kind of categorizing all these things. And just because I've used here like creative, fun, emotional outlet, about connection, pure happiness, like giving of self, you don't have to be limited to these as categories, okay? And also what I want to stress is that there are certain things that we might do just because we are proud that we can do them, okay? And so even though for me, I crossed off speaking in church, and if it was on, you know, this kind of quick list for the video, if I talked about doing public speaking in high school, and I said I would cross that off the list if it was on there because it's ego-based. I chose to cross them off there, okay? But there might be something else that we do because it makes us proud to do it, okay? So it's okay to be proud of yourself for things. If it's not just about making yourself feel better in an area where you feel flawed, I hope that makes sense. So there needs to be more to it than that you're not just doing it. You know, it's okay, let's use the example of cooking dinner. I don't know why I always pick this example, because it's not like I do that in my household. But if we use the example of like cooking dinner for, let's just say, like your partner, and you can use whoever you want. So there could be many elements to this. Some people who cook dinner for their partner, so if that's me on the rare occasion when I do it, or my family, it's not something that comes into my joy and fun kind of life aspect, okay? I would purely be doing it just because I had to, right? Nothing more to it. Whereas the next person who cooks might be cooking for, you know, their family or their partner or, you know, parents, whoever it is, as a way of giving and as a way of, that giving of self, and maybe because of the connection of then sitting down and eating that together. And somebody else might be a great cook, or, you know, learnt to make a new meal, or knows that their partner or the person coming over for dinner like loves a particular dish that they make. So they make that for them. And there can be an element of pride, like, yes, I made this dish and I'm really proud of myself that I did it, and that this person I'm cooking for really loves it. So being proud of yourself can still come into this. But as you can see with that cooking dinner for that person, it's also can be about giving to them, okay? Having that connection with them when they come for dinner. Giving yourself to someone else in that sense, because you are doing it for them, okay? So don't automatically take being proud and pride off the list just because we so often just automatically associate pride with ego. There's kind of different levels when it comes to being proud of yourself versus something being solely ego-based. So I hope that makes sense. Now, go through your whole list, categorize it, try and kind of then, once you've written beside them, then go and put them into sort of separate boxes. So then I might just take a separate piece of paper and, you know, rule as many lines as I want. And, you know, this box might be for all the things that just are fun. This might be the box of connection. This might be the box of, you know, giving to others, kind of serving others. This might be the box of creativity. Just so you can see where these different things fall, and you can have something in more than one of those as well. Again, don't get caught up in how you set it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. No one else is seeing it. No one else is looking at it. You may love setting things out and making them fancy and pretty. That's fine too. That's all I want you to focus on for this week. I know we still haven't come back to week 1, but we will. And I know that this seems to be, like, if you're someone like me, you're just like, just give me the goddamn, like, the whole recipe so I know where this is going. And I could do that. I could do that. I could do a 2-hour video every day for a week and throw it out there and get through this. But the fact of the matter is, nobody has time to sit and watch a 2-hour video every day for a solid week, as well as then putting the time into themselves to actually do these bits and pieces that we're talking about along the way. We will get to the end point, okay? So keep everything else. Nothing's been forgotten about, but that's it for this week that I want you to kind of concentrate on. And, you know, even though it took a while to kind of go through my examples and give the explanation, even though you may have a super long list, once you get going, it does get a lot quicker to go, well, that fits in that category and that fits in that category. So, and then do that and set it aside, because we will be coming back to it. All right, gonna leave you with that for today, and thank you for watching and joining along if you are partaking. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments. I will try and get better at responding sooner to people. I do know it is my downfall. So thank you for bearing with me, lovely, lovely people. And I will chat to you all next time. Mwah. Sending love. Bye.